growing up in Africa or Zambia, I grew up in a family that, they're all scholars, from an economist to a lawyer. And then my dad went from being a lecturer to dean to vice chancellor to writing books. So I grew up in a home where like books and school was like the it. So obviously, even being abroad, I thought, okay, there's already a lawyer taken. Okay, economics taken. So I'm like, what's there to do? Fine, accounting, I can do that. So I thought that's what they expected of me. But, they supported me because they thought that's what I wanted to do. And literally for me, Tanya, when I finished, I realized like I just wasted years doing something that I don't love. And the mistake I made was not to even tell my family that I've changed what I wanted to do. So they're thinking, oh, she's doing accounts, but little girl decided to do events because I realized again, I really love planning. I love networking. I love bringing people together. I just love organizing things. And that was the beginning of everything for me. But
So were you doing that on the side? And like you're still doing the schooling, but then you kind of thought, let me do this on the side. Or
No, I finished all the school and then
okay.
I realized that accounts is not what I wanted to do. Then I started finding out how do I do events? What do I do? What do I need to do? So from
Mhm.
lots of internships to going back to school to knocking at the doors. One thing that I'm not scared of is reaching out to people. So I've done it all. Hotel reception, head of events in a hotel, and literally just going and interviewing. Someone says, "Got experience?" I'm like, "Nope, but I know I can do it." So it was one of those. So my CV then grew from not having experience to having experience to going back to school to having the qualifications that I so needed to then having this incredible career in Europe doing events around Europe, even around the world. I mean, I've done some of the most extraordinary events and I'm so grateful for that. But then every time I travel back home, when someone asks me, what are you doing that side? When I explain that, what, I'm an events designer, producer, they were like, so you wasted time just to, put tabacos on the table. And I'll be like, oh my goodness. When you talk about events planning at home, people think you just, I don't know, arrange flowers. And it was so hard to explain. I was getting very
Yeah.
frustrated, even with family members, it was like, yeah, all I'm just doing is, yeah, you know, partying, whatever you want to call it. Then, yeah, so it was hard because most of my friends, like my circle in Zambia, we have bankers, doctors. Your intake is like engineering, and then when you meet up,
Exactly.
you're like, yeah, I produce events. So like, but why? You kind of like, you know, I'm
Yeah.
actually living the best life. Mm-hmm.
And again, that's
So
down to the system that was there at the time. We
absolutely.
we had a Zambia that was, your success, either you ended up in government or you had to have one of those like doctor, lawyer type of qualifications because I mean, at that time there were no events to be planning. So they were
No.
like, well, what are you talking about? But the world has changed and it just shows that you were ahead of the curve, let's say. So
Yes,
you were really like about you were learning what would become useful to you later. But how old were you at this
absolutely.
stage?
Oh wow. So I think I was about 23, 24 when I started doing this full time. And my dad then came back and told me, you are always complaining, like, about explaining things to people in terms of what you do. Why don't you start showing people why your industry is important? Why don't you show them that to be an events producer, planner, or to own a company, you actually have to know maths, business, because like literally you're all in one, HR, everything. And I said, how do I do that? He says, start bringing these events into Zambia or do events in Zambia or Africa because you're taking the easy route by doing events outside Africa because it's easy because people already have jobs there, there's policies, there's everything there, you guys are protected, you get salaries. But here, for someone to be an events designer or planner, they also have to have a full-time job, they have to be a teacher and do this during the
Absolutely.
weekends. So why don't you start showing people that they too can do what you're doing, but then also that, the government can also start investing in your industry, in the creative arts. And I was like, oh, okay. And I thought it was easy. I remember my first event in Zambia. Like, I was like, yeah, I've got this big wedding, and it was
Hmm.
huge.
What year was that?
Oh gosh, let me just think now. When was that? I think it was like 6 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, or 6 years ago in December. I remember very well, and I actually brought in an international team because that's what the client asked. But I mixed with the local team, and oh my gosh, Tanya, I was schooled. So, I
I
was
love it.
good. I was baptized. When you go in and you're like, oh, so I want this, and this is the plan. I immediately planned yesterday. Mm-mm. I Listen, I sweated. And, when we do events around the world, it's always easy because people work. There's no 9 to 5. So you produce your events, um, and you can work overnight to finish things. And here I was, and, thinking people are working and we have an event tomorrow, we're going, and then 6 p.m., boom, people are like, oh, so we'll be back tomorrow at 9. I was like, hold on. The event is tomorrow. We're nowhere near
Wow.
done this. They're like, yeah, but it's time to go.
Uh-huh.
Tanya, my international crew, I had 4 people, and I think about 12, my local vendors, they went home. My international crew worked throughout until 6 in the morning.
Wow. Wow.
And I was so embarrassed with myself, but then also disappointed with myself because I was like, okay, I should have actually explained the way things work, but I should have actually sat down and understand how things work for them so
There
that we
as
meet
well. Yeah.
halfway. And I realized that I need to take 50 steps back and understand how things work at home first before I can bring in anything. And how do I meet them halfway?
That's
How
right.
do we meet each other halfway? Because when things have been done a certain way for a long time, it's hard to change them. Because if you've only known black, someone can't tell you and say, no, there's also dark black. You
That's
know,
right.
you have to, yeah. So for me, that was when I realized that, okay, I was frustrated, and
Yeah.
you know me when I get frustrated. But it was also one of those like, okay, I'm gonna be that change, but also that person that inspires, that grows. And I'm gonna do this for my country so that when people say, can we have an event or a vacation or an experience in Africa? I should say, yes, Zambia, we are ready.
Mhm.
Yes, we're
Mhm.
ready scenery, but even our people are ready. They are
Mhm.
ready to host you. They are ready to do any event for you. So